The doomsday rule descends. Every living soul on earth is forbidden from using the word no, or any word that carries a negative meaning. Say it once, and you drop dead on the spot. And my neighbor used this iron rule, this no ban, to rob me of every last bit of food I'd stored away. Adrian, I'm out of water. Can you give me half of yours? Adrian, I've got nothing left to eat. Can I have the food you've been saving? After stripping me of everything, he grabbed me by the hair. That last pack of crackers from your place, not bad at all. He laughs without a care in the world, deliberately chewing as loud as he can. I glare at him, burning with rage and completely powerless. In the end, I die, consumed by hunger and humiliation. When I open my eyes again, I'm back, one day before the doomsday rule begins. Through the wall, I hear Nora, Marcus's wife, giggling softly as she sweet-talks him. Sweetheart, will you always be good to me? Forever? I smile. This time the hunter and the prey are switching roles. Not only will I make Marcus give back everything he took, doubled, I'll make him hand over everything he holds dear. His wife, his child, every single thing he owns. In a world where no one can say no, every question is a potential blade, sharp enough to strip you of everything. In my past life, I was too slow to understand how the rule really worked. The no ban seems to hand unlimited power to whoever asks the questions, but the real heart of it is logic. Craft the right question and you trap your opponent in a paradox they can't escape. And as a top law student, playing with logic, traps, and language is exactly what I do best. I climb out of bed and confirm it. Today is the day before everything changes. I check my bank balance. 200,000, all there. Money my parents saved for my graduate school. In my past life, it became worthless the moment the doomsday rule hit. But now, it's the first lever I'll use to pry open my revenge. I pull up the city's biggest supermarket app and start loading my cart, fast and without mercy. Every supply I can think of goes on the list. 20 minutes later, a 200,000 order is ready. In the notes field, I type one line, "Are you willing to accept this order?" Then I hit send. The confirmation screen pops up instantly. It works. I look out at a world still calm and unaware, and a cold smile tugs at my lips. Marcus, the game has begun. Are you ready? The next morning, at 9 o'clock sharp, a cold mechanical voice echoes simultaneously inside the minds of 7 billion people across the earth. Rule announcement, effective immediately. All sentient beings are forbidden from using the word no or any expression carrying a negative meaning. Enjoy the game. For one breathless moment, the world goes dead silent. Then it erupts into screams and chaos like an avalanche crashing into the sea. I stand at the window, watching the street below with perfect calm. Nearby, a man spins toward another in a panic and shouts, "Don't come near me!" The next second, an invisible force erases him. Nothing left but ash. Screams of terror erupt all around. I calmly draw the curtains, shutting out the cries. My phone rings. It's the supermarket manager, his voice cracking with tears. He stumbles over his words, asking if I placed the order, why the note is so strange. I answer, calm as still water, "Are you willing to deliver everything on the order?" Silence on the other end. An hour later, a massive truck pulls up below my building. Several pale-faced workers, after a friendly negotiation with the manager and me, start hauling the supplies upstairs. My apartment is on the 3rd floor. No elevator. My supplies quickly fill the entire hallway. Neighbors press their eyes to their peepholes, staring with fear and greed, but no one dares step out. When the last box finally makes it up, the worker looks at me, lips trembling, barely standing. "Sir, can we go now?" I smile and hand each of them a bottle of water and a piece of bread. "Of course. Are you willing to leave right now?" Like prisoners granted pardon, they scramble away on hands and knees. I close the door, lean back against the mountain of supplies, and finally let myself feel the weight of exhaustion. But this is only the beginning. I crack open a brand new toolbox and start reinforcing my shelter. In my past life, I made the mistake of responding to a neighbor's cries for help and gave away the fact that I had supplies. Those cries brought Marcus, that hungry wolf, to my door. This time, my world needs only silence. I spend the entire afternoon sealing every crack in every door and window. I add 3 extra locks to the bedroom door. When it's done, I collapse onto the couch. A few boxes of water are still out in the hallway. I catch my breath and drag myself up for one last push. Just as I'm hauling in the final box, the door across the hall creaks open. Marcus pokes his head out. His face wears that perfectly rehearsed smile, the warm, friendly neighbor kind, but the moment his eyes sweep across the boxes, I haven't moved inside yet. I catch the flash of greed deep in his eyes. The exact same look he had in my past life when he cornered me against the wall. He spots me and fakes a look of surprise. "Whoa, Adrian. Are you moving in?" His gaze sticks to the water boxes beside me like a snake flicking its tongue. I say nothing. I just watch him perform. In my past life, it was this exact mask of kindness that made me drop my guard. He played the caring older friend, asking about my life, drawing out everything I knew. And then, when I had nothing left, he showed his true fangs. Unfazed by my silence, he keeps smiling and casually points at the water box by my feet. I stare hard at that finger, fighting the urge to bring the wrench in my hand crashing down on it. I have to stay calm. The time isn't right yet. The prey has already stepped into my snare. All I need to do is guide him, step by step, willingly, straight to the center of the trap. He thinks he's still the one in control, still the hunter, and that I'm still the same, helpless, foolish prey he can do whatever he wants with. He wants to test me with the simplest of questions, to see if I understand the rule, to feel out my limits. He wants to crack open my door and take what's mine at the lowest possible cost. Then go ahead and ask. Every single word out of your mouth will become the rope you hang yourself with. Marcus finally wraps up his little one-man show, bends down and leans his face close to mine, adopting what he thinks is a warm, friendly tone. "Adrian, man, It's so hot out. Think you could share half that water with me? There it is. The question ripples outward like a stone dropped into a still pond, spreading in rings through the stifling hallway. The air seems to freeze. I can even make out the tiny dust particles drifting in the last light of the sun. Marcus holds that perfect smile, his eyes glowing with the certainty that he's already won. He's sure I can't refuse. After all, the rule applies to everyone equally. In my past life, faced with that same question, I panicked, stumbling over my words, having no idea what to say. In the end, crushed by the invisible weight of the rule, I gave in without a word. That box of water was his first step through my door, and my first step into the abyss. But now, staring at that fake face of his, my heart is ice cold and perfectly still. He thinks his question is clever. Think you could share half? A textbook vague and open-ended ask. It's loaded with traps. He weaponizes the familiarity of neighbors to disguise robbery as generosity. He exploits the force of the no ban to make sure I can't refuse. If I agree, he's mapped out the rule's limits and confirmed my weakness for free. If I panic and try to argue my way out, he'll know for certain I'm someone he can walk all over. Save the act, Marcus. That cheap smile of yours isn't fooling anyone but yourself. Instead of answering, I open my mouth slowly. Marcus, I didn't quite catch that. Are you asking me? I pause deliberately. Then I spell out word by word every unspoken meaning buried in what he just said. Are you asking whether I'm willing to take the water I worked hard to buy, hauled up 3 flights of stairs, and just give half of it to you, for free? Is that what you mean? Dead silence fills the hallway. Marcus's expression shifts. The warmth drains away, replaced by sharp suspicion. He clearly didn't see this coming. In his eyes, I was always the quiet type. A little slow, honestly. And yet here I am, pulling a move like this. I've laid his hidden meaning bare on the table, and now he has no way to answer. The moment he admits it, his whole nice guy act falls apart right here in public. In the apocalypse, anyone who openly admits to wanting something for nothing instantly becomes a target for everyone. But he can't say no either, because that means instant death. Down the hallway, several doors crack open just a sliver, eyes and ears pressed against them from behind, watching tensely as the first real clash under the Doomsday Rule unfolds. I can feel all those eyes shifting back and forth between Marcus and me. A thin sheen of sweat begins to form at Marcus's temple. His throat bobs as he swallows hard. That selfish mind of his working overtime, desperately searching for a way out, but I'm not giving him one. I smile again, deeper this time, with a touch of mockery at the edge, and I throw out my second question. Or maybe, I drag out the words, letting my gaze drift past his shoulder toward the half-open door behind him. Are you asking whether you're willing to trade your beautiful wife Nora to me in exchange for half this water? Something detonates inside Marcus's head. The last thread of his reason snaps clean in two. His face goes from a frozen white to a furious purple red, then shifts to a livid gray-green. He stares at me with wide locked eyes, every trace of greed and calculation wiped out by shock and raw fury, as if he'd love nothing more than to lunge at me and tear me apart. My words hit the hallway like a depth charge. The thrill of the drama clearly outweighs anyone's fear of the apocalypse. Behind Marcus, the door swings fully open with a creak. Nora's composed, beautiful face is etched with confusion and alarm. She'd clearly heard the argument and stepped out to check, only to walk straight into every word of what I just said. No warning, no shelter. Time slows. I watch the color drain from her face until it's white as paper. Then her gaze snaps from my smiling face hard across to her husband Marcus. She's waiting for an answer, an explanation. And Marcus is nailed to the spot by my question, pinned there under the stares of every neighbor, right in front of the wife he claims to love most. He can't admit to the first question. That would be social suicide on the spot. He can't admit to the second either, not unless he wants his family destroyed right now. But he can't say no. The air hums with the intoxicating thrill of a public takedown. I fold my arms and watch him with perfect ease. Marcus, which one is it? Pick one, so I can give you a proper answer. Sound fair? In the end, Marcus, face drained white, grabs Nora, ignores my question entirely, and retreats back into their room. And I carry in the last box of water, walking back into my apartment with a quiet sense of triumph. Deep in the night, someone knocks at my door, soft, hesitant, probing, as if afraid to disturb anything yet carrying a thread of despair that can't be hidden. I move to the door and look through the peephole. The motion sensor light in the hallway is off, everything dark, but through the faint moonlight bleeding in from the window, I can still make out the face on the other side, pale, streaked with dried tears. It's Nora, Marcus's wife. She's holding a small, thin child against her chest, asleep, his little face scrunched up, clearly unwell. She looks far worse than she did this afternoon. Lips cracked, eyes hollow like a flower beaten down by a storm. I don't open the door. I don't make a sound. I just watch her in silence. I watch her tremble faintly in the dark, gripped by fear and helplessness. Finally, as if she has nothing left, she leans her forehead against the cold surface of my door and lets out a whimper, crushed down to almost nothing. Please. Her voice is barely a whisper, yet it lands like a small hammer struck against the dead silence of the hallway. Only then do I speak, cold, measured through the door. Are you asking whether I'm willing to give you food to save your child? She jolts, her head snapping up like she's just been thrown a lifeline, then flinches, caught off guard by my bluntness. She nods frantically through her sobs. Yes, my child has a fever. He hasn't eaten all day. Please. I don't respond right away. I'm thinking, where is Marcus? The man who swore he loved her, who promised to take care of her forever. Where is he now? Right, he's probably still seething from this afternoon's public takedown, pouring every drop of his powerless rage onto the wife and child who can't fight back. A man who loses face outside and comes home to take it out on his family. I've seen that type more times than I can count in my past life. I unlock the door but open it only a sliver, the chain still firmly in place. Through the gap I pass out a carton of milk and 2 individually wrapped rolls. Get something in the kid first. Nora's eyes light up instantly, and she reaches out with trembling hands. They were once well-kept hands. Now, tension has drained them white at the knuckles. The moment her fingertips touch the carton, I don't let go. Instead, I speak, low and quiet. A man who cares only about his own pride and nothing about his wife and child. Do you really think he can protect you? Her whole body locks up. The hand gripping the carton pulls back like she's touched a hot flame. I watch the light in her eyes dim, fast and visibly, replaced by something deeper, the lost, aching look of someone who's just had their truth spoken out loud. I let go. The milk and bread drop into her arms, and then I shut the door with a firm thud, sealing her and all her feelings on the other side. I don't look again, but I hear her stumbling footsteps retreating down the hall. Then Marcus's voice explodes through the wall. You went crawling to that piece of trash for food? You've completely destroyed my reputation. Then comes Nora's muffled crying, and the dull thud of something heavy hitting the floor. I lean against the cold door, a slow, cold smile spreading across my face. Good. The crack has appeared, but it's not enough yet. About 10 minutes later, the arguing next door goes quiet. In its place comes the sound of Marcus moving through the hallway, his voice deliberately raised, dripping with anger. He knocks on a neighbor's door. Wade, you still up? Got something to tell you. That guy across the hall, he's rotten to the core. He used that damn rule to make my wife get on her knees just for a scrap of food. Lisa, you need to watch out. Our neighbor is a monster. He's using the rule to steal from all of us. Rumors are the cheapest and sharpest weapon in the apocalypse, igniting fear and hatred with almost no effort at all. Soon, footsteps gather outside my door again. This time it's not one person. It's the shuffling, overlapping steps of at least 4 or 5, all stopping right outside my door like a pack of dogs that have caught the scent of blood. Through the peephole, I see Marcus at the front, his face twisted with a dark, revenge-fueled satisfaction. Behind him stand several large men, all residents of this building. Some are holding baseball bats, others gripping wrenches. The tension spikes instantly to its peak. Heavy, ragged breathing crowds in from outside, separated from me by nothing but a thin security door. The greedy, vicious intent so thick it feels like it could solidify and drip. Adrian, open up! Marcus's voice comes through the door, tightly controlled excitement wrapped in a shell of forced authority. He's clearly learned from this afternoon. 4 short words, all commands, carefully sidestepping every question that could trigger the rule. I stand behind the door watching that twisted face through the peephole. Behind him, Wade hefts a heavy pipe wrench. And on the other side, Lisa, empty-handed, has her eyes locked onto the boxes stacked in my entryway. These aren't neighbors. They're vultures that have caught the smell of blood. I don't move, I just watch. Adrian, we're all neighbors here. Times have changed. We should be looking out for each other. Marcus softens his tone when I don't respond. You bought way more than one person could ever use. Share a little with everyone. We'll all remember your kindness. That's right, Adrian, just open up. We just want to talk it over, Wade chimes in, while unconsciously tapping that pipe wrench against his palm. A cold smirk pulls at my lips. Talk it over? With weapons in your hands? In my past life, I might have tried to reason with them out of fear, or given in out of weakness. But in this life, this door is the line between life and death, and it's also my stage. I clear my throat. My voice travels through the door, steady and clear, reaching every single ear out there. Marcus, are you trying to let everyone know that you tricked them into coming here as your shields, just so you could take my supplies for yourself? That sentence hits like a bucket of ice water. The heat outside the door extinguished in an instant, replaced by a dead silence. Marcus's face visibly freezes. His mouth opens. His throat works frantically. He wants to deny it, wants to say no, wants to say that's not true. But under the rule, those words are the scythe of death itself. Say that's not it. Drop dead on the spot. Say I didn't. Turn to ash in an instant. He chokes it all back, his face bloating to a deep, ugly red, the veins at his temple pulsing visibly. And behind him, the neighbors. Their expressions shift in an instant. Once the seed of suspicion is planted, watered by apocalyptic panic, it grows into something massive and unstoppable. Wade's wrench freezes midair, his eyes flickering uncertainly between Marcus and me. That's a lie! Marcus finally forces out, his voice going shrill with tension. He's trying to turn us against each other. Once we're inside, everything gets split equally. Split equally? I let out a soft laugh, rich with mockery. Does everyone here truly believe that a man who would trade his own wife as a bargaining chip would actually split anything equally with you? The commotion outside grows louder. Lisa looks Marcus up and down with the eyes of someone inspecting trash. Adrian, shut your mouth! Marcus snaps, his humiliation curdling into rage. He slams a fist against my door. Everyone rush in, break it down. I'll take responsibility for whatever happens. I'll take responsibility. How bold. I yank the door lock open. A sharp click that cracks through the dead silent hallway like a thunderbolt. The people outside clearly didn't expect me to open it myself. They instinctively step back half a pace. The door eases open, but only a crack. The sturdy chain still locked tight, keeping their world and mine completely separate. I stand behind the gap, one eye visible, staring coldly at this rabble. Come on then, who wants to make the first move? I reach into my pocket at a leisurely pace, pull out a utility knife, and extend the blade. In their eyes, this knife may mean nothing. In a world ruled by the no ban, language is the only nuclear weapon that matters. Wade, right? I look at the biggest man in the group. That's a heavy wrench you've got got there. If you use it to break down my door, are you willing to accept the risk of home invasion and the instant death of everyone in your family? Wade's hand jerks violently. The wrench nearly drops straight onto his own foot. It's a logic trap. The rule may only ban negative words, but it also judges intent. If I define this as robbery and he can't deny it, because he can't say no, then logically, he has just admitted to it. And once I guide him into confirming that high-risk label, the fear of death inside him will expand without limit. Wade stutters, sweat pouring down his face. He wants to say, I'm not here to rob anyone. But he can't say it. That one question has sealed off every exit. What's wrong? Can't find the words. My gaze stays cold as I scan every face in the hallway. Or maybe, Lisa, are you willing, for the sake of Marcus's meal, to leave your child behind in this world as an orphan? Lisa shudders. The greed in her eyes wiped out in an instant and replaced by sheer terror. She jerks backward like she's been burned. You see, Marcus? I look at him through the gap, his face a livid gray. No one is willing to die for you. Marcus is teetering on the edge of collapse. He thought the numbers would force me to back down, or at least let them break through. But he forgot, in a world where no one can say no, every moment that demands a denial is a death sentence waiting to fall. He can't refute my accusations, and he can't calm these people down without triggering the rule. Everyone. Marcus makes one last desperate stand, spinning away from me to face the neighbors, eyes blazing. The only way we survive is by taking his supplies, or do you all want to starve to death? Starve to death? I catch that word and throw my blade again. If you're so concerned about everyone starving, why haven't you brought out those 2 boxes of sausages and that bag of rice you've been hiding at your place? This time, the air doesn't just chill, it solidifies completely. Every eye in the hallway locks onto Marcus like a spotlight, the hungry predatory stare of starving animals that have just found prey. Marcus's pupils contract sharply. He really does have things stashed at home. His final card. He never imagined I'd know, let alone expose it right here, right now, in front of everyone. That's nonsense. He instinctively tries to deny it, but that's nonsense contains no absolute negative word, so he dances frantically along the edge of death. I'm talking nonsense? I smile, bright, open, devastating. Then are you willing to take everyone to your place right now for a look? Just one look. And if I'm wrong, I'll hand over everything in my apartment with both hands. Are you willing? Checkmate, Marcus. This is an absolute either or. Either he leads everyone to his apartment, exposing what he's been hiding, and gets picked clean by the neighbors, or he refuses. And though he can't say no, if he stays silent or makes excuses, he has effectively admitted that he's been deceiving everyone, using them as cannon fodder while hoarding for himself. Sweat rolls down Marcus's forehead and stings his eyes, but he doesn't even dare to wipe it away. He watches the eyes around him shift, from doubt to anger to outright hatred, and his legs begin to shake. Wade, go take a look. I land the finishing blow at just the right moment. Wade turns, fixing Marcus with a cold, flat stare. Marcus, Adrian's got a point. Since we're all about helping each other, why don't we start at your place? Yeah, Marcus, didn't you just say everything gets split equally? Lisa's voice turns sharp and cutting. Seems like sharing should start with what's yours too. In just a few sentences, every weapon that was pointed at me has spun around and driven itself straight into Marcus. This is the apocalypse. This is human nature. Nothing is stronger than self-interest, and nothing shatters faster. Marcus stumbles backward in a blind panic, his back slamming into my door. He's been put on the spit, and he's burning. My place. Marcus falls apart, grasping for excuses. Wife is sick, lost the keys. But under this kind of pressure, what little he has isn't nearly enough. He's terrified one wrong word will kill him on the spot, and even more terrified of what the neighbors will do if he admits the truth. Get out of my face. In the end, driven past his limit by fear and rage, he screams it straight at Wade. Wade goes still, then his expression hardens. He slams the pipe wrench onto the floor. Fine, Marcus, so we're just your pawns, is that it? Wade waves the others off. Let's go home. Anyone who bothers with this guy from here on out is a fool. The crowd disperses faster than it gathered. They were only ever here for what they could get. Now that they've seen Marcus for what he is, a man trying to get everything for nothing, and that he's been hoarding supplies he refused to share, the resentment burns hotter than if they'd left with nothing. The hallway empties quickly until only Marcus remains, sagging against my door like every bone in his spine has been pulled out. Through the gap, I speak softly. Marcus. The game has only just begun. It seems your allies have all walked away. Marcus spins around, locking onto the gap in my door, the red veins in his eyes looking ready to burst. Right now he looks exactly like a rabid dog, desperate to bite, but with every tooth broken off. Are you willing to go home now? I ask again, my voice as warm and gentle as an old friend's. Or would you rather stay here and wait for my next question? Something like, more details about that beautiful wife of yours. The word wife hits Marcus like a foot coming down on a cat's tail. The humiliation from this afternoon and the defeat of tonight twist together and strip away the last of his reason. But he doesn't dare touch me. He swallows all that fury and drives it into one savage kick against my door, letting out a roar of powerless rage before spinning around and charging back to his own door. The door slams so hard the whole building seems to shudder. I close my own door at a leisurely pace. The world goes quiet, but I know this is just the calm before the storm. A man like Marcus, consumed by selfishness and obsessed with his image, has just been shattered in public. Every scheme he had has collapsed, and he's just committed social suicide in front of the whole building. That poisonous rage of his has nowhere to go. Not toward me, not toward the neighbors. So in the confines of that sealed apartment, the only person left to absorb it is the one he considers his personal property, Nora. I move to the wall and listen. It doesn't take long. Something shatters on the other side. A man's hysterical cursing and a woman's broken, desperate crying. "You useless traitor!" Marcus's voice tears through two walls without losing a single edge. "Did you tell him we had food? Was it you?" A sharp crack, the sound of a slap, and Nora's cry of pain cuts straight through. I sink into the couch and close my eyes. The seconds tick by one after another. Outside, the sky goes completely dark. The sounds of violence next door drag on for a long time before finally fading deep into the night. I know, the moment is coming. The door Marcus shut with his own hands will open again very soon. I sit in the dark and watch my door in silence. Sure enough, about half an hour later, the faintest footsteps approach outside, followed by a knock so soft it's almost nothing at all. Here we go. I rise, walk to the door, and look through the peephole. In the pale moonlight bleeding through the hallway window, I see a face covered in tear streaks and bruises. It's Nora, holding her son little Ben against her chest. She just stands there in silence. I know what she's doing. She's betting on whether I'll open the door. Of course I will. Not out of kindness, but because she is the final piece I need to break Marcus completely. Taking Nora in will cut him to the core far more deeply than anything else ever could. I don't turn the handle right away. Instead, I lean close to the cold surface of the door and speak just low enough for only the two of us. "Nora, standing at my door like this, is there something you want to ask me?" The silhouette outside flinches sharply. Her trembling voice comes through the dark. Just one word before she breaks into sobs. I wait patiently, a hunter with a gentle hand guiding my prey forward. "Are you asking whether I'm willing to give you and your child some food?" I say it for her. She's quiet for a moment, then a faint but clear word comes through. "Yes." Or is it? I shift, a thread of cold scrutiny entering my voice. "Are you asking whether I'm willing to take you and your child in and give you a safe place to stay?" This question weighs far more than the last one. Accepting food is just a transaction, but accepting shelter means complete betrayal and surrender. The silence outside stretches for a full half-minute. I can picture the war raging inside her. Finally, as if drawing on every last reserve she has, her voice comes back, hoarse but steady. "Yes, good." I slowly place my hand on the lock and ease the door open a crack. Nora's appearance is devastating. Her hair plastered in tangled strands across her face, the corner of her mouth split and seeping, a vivid five-fingered welt rising high on her left cheek, already turning purple. "Nora, so what you're really asking is, are you willing to accept my protection and handle the household manage daily tasks, in exchange for food and absolute safety for you and your child? Is that right?" I press down hard on protection and manage the household. This isn't charity, it's a contract. She hesitates for just 1 second, then Marcus's voice bleeds through the wall again, low and seething with barely contained fury, curling around her ankle like a snake. She shudders violently, then looks straight at me and gives one firm heavy nod. "Yes." I step aside, clearing the doorway. Then, "Welcome." Nora moves like a prisoner granted pardon. Clutching little Ben, she half stumbles, half rushes through the door. I close the door, lock it, and shut Marcus's world out completely. Marcus lets out a roar like a wounded animal, followed by frantic pounding. "Nora, you traitor, get out here right now." Nora goes rigid, all the color leaves her face, and she holds little Ben tight, trembling like a leaf in the wind. I walk over and rest a hand gently on her shoulder. "Don't be afraid. You're safe here." I say it plainly, from this moment on, you and your child are safe. She looks up at me, disbelief written all over her face. I gesture toward the couch. "Get settled in first, your work starts officially tomorrow." Outside, Marcus's roars and the pounding against the door continue, like a furious, powerless requiem, while inside my apartment, there is only peace. A new day begins to the sound of Marcus cursing next door. The insults come in broken bursts. No creativity, just the same tired filth on repeat. I tune it all out. I pull out milk and toast from the fridge and take my time putting together breakfast. Nora and little Ben sit on the couch, one big, one small, both visibly tense and unsure. I slide a plate in front of her. "Eat up. Once you're done, your work begins." Nora takes it with a look of startled disbelief, carefully feeding little Ben bite by bite, barely touching anything herself. I pay her no mind, finish my own portion, and wipe my mouth. From the storage room, I take a walkie-talkie and a handwritten note and hand them to her. "Take these. Go knock on the door of 301. The note reads, "Aunt May, are you willing to trade all the cigarettes and alcohol in your apartment for 3 liters of clean water and 2 packs of instant noodles?" She looks up at me, eyes full of fear. "Marcus is out there. He won't touch you." I look at her, my voice even. "You're under my protection now. If he lays a hand on you, he's asking me, are you willing to let me die?" My words seem to give her something to stand on. She draws a slow breath as if making a decision, then picks up little Ben, takes the walkie-talkie and note, and walks toward the door. Through the camera by the entrance, I have a clear view of everything in the hallway. Nora knocks on the door of 301. Almost simultaneously, Marcus bursts out of his apartment. He hasn't shaved in days, eyes sunken, reeking of something stale and sour. "You dare show your face out here?" He lunges for Nora's hair, screaming. She yelps and squeezes her eyes shut, but his hand freezes in midair. My voice comes through the walkie-talkie cold and clear across the entire hallway. Marcus, are you sure you want to touch her? Marcus goes completely still. He slowly turns his head and locks his stare onto the camera by my door, his eyes burning like he wants to devour me alive, but doing absolutely nothing. The door to 301 opens and Aunt May peeks out. Nora, still trembling, passes the note over. Aunt May reads it, barely a moment's hesitation, then goes inside and comes back with an armful of cigarettes and bottles. The trade is done. Nora clutches the goods, head down, and walks quickly back to my apartment without once looking at Marcus. Right in front of Marcus, I have Nora count through everything we just acquired, then hand little Ben a sausage as a reward. That image is the final straw. Marcus lets out a sharp, wretched howl. He's completely lost it, charging at my door like a maddened bull. I slam it shut. A thunderous crash, and even the steel core security door I had reinforced at great cost shows a slight dent. Nora and little Ben shrink into the corner, both white as sheets. I smile. So it's come to this, the most primitive move, and the most foolish. I walk to the door, not to look through the peephole but to press a small, inconspicuous switch beside it. Outside, Marcus raises his fist to strike, and suddenly freezes. Something invisible slams into him with tremendous force. His body arches backward, every muscle convulsing violently, every hair standing on end, a broken hissing sound escaping his mouth. The high-voltage trap grid I installed inside the door panel. After a few seconds, I switch it off. Marcus slides down the door like a puddle of mud and crumples to the floor, the acrid smell of scorched flesh drifting off him. I ease the door open. Just a crack, enough to see him, enough for him to see me. He lies there like a dead fish washed ashore, gasping in heavy, ragged breaths, nothing left in his eyes but hollow despair. Nora stands behind me, watching the man who was once her husband, lips trembling, expression impossible to read. The moment is right. I look down at Marcus on the floor and speak, cold and deliberate. Marcus, aren't you ready to admit that if I hadn't reinforced this door in advance, if I hadn't installed the grid, you would have broken in just now? He shudders. There is no denial left in him. I keep pressing, voice low, every word cutting him to the core. Aren't you ready to admit that once you broke in, you would have taken every supply I have, and unleashed all your rage on Nora and me, causing harm that could never be undone? A trapped animal whimper rises from Marcus's throat. He looks past me at Nora, and for the first time, something like pleading appears in his eyes. Nora instinctively takes one step back, turning away from his gaze. That one step breaks him completely. I watch the last light go out in his eyes and I deliver the final judgment, and in its own way, the most merciful one. Marcus, are you willing to give me every last supply remaining in your apartment, in exchange for the right to see your son once a day? Marcus's pupils go completely unfocused, like a creature from which every bone has been removed. After a few seconds of dead silence, he squeezes one shattered syllable from his throat, hoarse as rusted metal grinding against itself. Yes, one word. It drains him of every last shred of dignity and strength. Behind me, Nora sways almost imperceptibly and reaches out to steady herself against the wall. I close the door without expression, shutting out the wreck on the other side. Nora, are you willing to come help me take inventory of the supplies? I turn and ask her, calm as always. She opens her eyes with a start, fear and confusion swirling inside them, but in the end it all settles into a numb, resigned acceptance. She nods. I open the door. Marcus is still lying where he fell, like a dead dog. I don't spare him a second glance. I walk straight across the hall, use the key he just surrendered to unlock his door, and a thick wave of stale, sour, sweat-soaked air rushes out to meet me. The living room is a wreck. Empty instant noodle cups and torn snack wrappers scattered everywhere. The couch sits crooked against the wall, stained with things better left unnamed. This is no longer the warm, tidy home I remember, the one that used to echo with laughter. Nora follows me in. She takes one look at the wreckage, and her eyes go red at the rims. I know what she's remembering, but I have no interest in offering comfort. Save the act. Those cheap tears of yours won't move anyone. Not even the trash can. Nora freezes, forcing every last tear back down. Nora and I start hauling the supplies in silence. Marcus had more than I expected. On top of what I'd already given Nora, there are several boxes of crackers, stacks of canned goods, and scattered snacks. The real prize, 2 large drums of clean water. Just as I lift the last box of emergency rations, a black hardcover notebook slips from the gap between the box and the wall and hits the floor with a sharp smack. I freeze. Nora sees it too. She reaches for it on instinct. Don't touch it. My voice comes out as a command. Every alarm in my head is going off. Marcus keeping a diary? A man like him? What could possibly be inside? I crouch down but don't reach for it yet. My eyes sweep over every inch of it like a searchlight. Plain black cover. No markings. No decoration. It doesn't look like a personal diary, more like a logbook. I reach out, fingertips brushing the cold, smooth cover. Slowly, I turn to the first page. A frantic, unhinged scrawl tears into my eyes. Month X, day X, damn it. I'm back. Same cursed place. Same night before the end. Why? Why me? My heart seizes, like an invisible fist is clenched tight around it. A sheet of cold sweat rushes down my spine. I thought I was the only revenant in this world, the one who held the ultimate script, a god. But this notebook hits me like a hard slap across the face. I'm not the only one. Marcus, he's a revenant too. My mind races. Dozens of details I'd dismissed suddenly snap together into one clear picture. Why did he come straight for me on day 1, so precisely? Why wasn't he the least bit surprised by my stockpile, only hungry for it? Why did he react to my logic flip so fast enough to immediately turn the neighbors against me? I force myself to stay calm and keep reading. The entries are chaotic, raw curses, pure rage, but buried inside is information that makes my scalp crawl. In my last life I died on day 7. That man used a single counter question to strip me of everything I had. I starved to death. No, that's not right. I wasn't starved. I was killed by them. That man man had no idea about the no ban. The no ban isn't even the deadliest part of the doomsday rule. The real horror comes after. There are creatures, the silencers, that react to the word no with instant lethal force. Say no to one of them, and you get torn apart on the spot. Ha ha ha. That bastard thought he'd won. He had no idea. All those supplies he stole would only make him the silencer's first target. This time around, I move first. I'll make him feel every ounce of the despair I felt in my last life. My fingers clench the edge of the notebook so hard my knuckles go white. So Marcus didn't starve to death because of me in his last life. After I stripped him of everything, he ran into the silencers. He couldn't satisfy the death question, couldn't say no, and they killed him. And when he came back, I was his first target. He didn't just want my supplies. He wanted me to die exactly the way he had. What a vicious plan. If I had been sharper, I'd be the one lying on the floor like a dead dog right now. I close the notebook and take a slow, deep breath. The wild hammering in my chest begins to settle. Beyond the fear comes something deeper, relief, and the faintest edge of excitement. Marcus, thank you for the gift. This intel is worth 10,000 times more than those boxes. One more revenant in the game. One more type of monster to face, so what? This whole end of the world game just got a lot more interesting. Then, from somewhere outside, a shriek tears through the night. Not human. Wrong in every way. Nora and little Pete scream and cling to each other. I move to the window and lift the edge of the curtain. The real apocalypse starts now. That shriek is like a rusted saw dragged back and forth across the silent night. Even through thick walls, it raises every hair on your body. Nora and little Pete have gone bone white. They're pressed together in the corner of the sofa, frozen. I ease the curtain aside. The streetlights below have gone out, I don't know when. In the dark, a warped figure moves toward our building in a slow, deeply wrong way. It looks human, 4 limbs, upright, but the joints bend backward. Every step comes with an unnatural full-body spasm, and a dry, cracking sound of bones grinding out of place. This is what Marcus described in his diary. The silencer. It tilts its head up. Where a face should be, there is only a black, swirling void, slowly rotating. I clamp both hands over my mouth. Not a sound. Then it stops. That void turns directly toward where I'm standing. A cold, completely emotionless mental broadcast drops straight into my mind. Will you share your warmth with me? My heart stops. There it is. The death question. Marcus's diary was clear in his last life. The death question from a silencer was what killed him. Can't say no. That gets you torn apart instantly. But saying yes doesn't guarantee survival either. The question is full of traps. What does warmth even mean? My body heat? The temperature of my room? If I say yes, will it come straight through the wall and drain my life away? Marcus wrote that he couldn't meet the creature's demands after agreeing. Saying yes only opens the door to more conditions. This is a death trap no matter what. My mind is sprinting. Stay calm. The rules are rigid, but people aren't. Every question has a loophole. I can't refuse, but I can reframe the question. Give it a whole new shape. I fix my gaze on that horror below and push a single thought back at it. Are you asking whether I'm willing to give you this cup of hot water in exchange for you vanishing from my sight right now? In this moment, scalding water is my only lifeline, turning the vague concept of warmth into something concrete. While slipping in my own condition, you disappear. Now, the silencer locks up. The void on its face stops spinning. It seems to be processing a logic loop it has never encountered before. Every second drags like a century. My back is soaked through with cold sweat. Then, finally, that emotionless voice drops into my mind again. Yes, the moment it lands, the silencer's body begins to flicker, and within seconds, it vanishes into nothing. I won the bet. My whole body gives out. I slump against the cold wall, gasping for air. But before I can feel relief, a massive crash shakes the floor. Marcus's door has been kicked wide open. Marcus storms out, hair wild, eyes bloodshot, wearing a smile that belongs on a madman. He sees me, alive and standing. He sees Nora and the child behind me. His face twists even further. Why? Why are you still alive? He screams it like a cornered animal. At that exact moment, the silencer that had just vanished reappears in the hallway without warning, directly in Marcus's path. The void turns toward Marcus. The cold mental broadcast arrives once more. Will you share your despair with me? Everyone goes still. Marcus goes still. And then he bursts into a laugh that shakes the whole hallway. Ha! Despair? Damn it, despair is all I've got left. You want it? Take every last bit. Still laughing, he opens his arms wide and walks straight toward the silencer. No counter question. No resistance. Not a single moment of hesitation. He had lost his family, lost everything he'd stockpiled, failed his revenge, and been hunted by the nightmare he thought he'd escaped. His mind was already gone. For Marcus, death might be the only way out. The silencer seems very satisfied with his answer. In the next instant, it moves too fast for my eyes to follow. I catch only a dark shape lunging upward, a sharp whistle of air, and then a burst of black tendrils erupting from within its form, slicing through Marcus like blades. Marcus crumples to the ground. Nora screams and collapses on the spot. I press my hands hard over little Pete's eyes. The silencer takes Marcus's body with it when it vanishes. All that's left in the hallway is the thick, suffocating smell of blood. There is no satisfaction in my chest, no rush of revenge. The real reckoning, it turns out, isn't watching your enemy die. It's discovering that when he does, you feel absolutely nothing. Marcus is dead, but this mad world has only just begun. Personal grudges shrink to dust when survival itself is on the line. Then another scream erupts from downstairs, this one human, followed by a frail old voice. Help! Someone, please help me. That voice. It's old Walt. In my last life, when I was nearly dead with hunger, it was old Walt downstairs who secretly slipped half a steamed bun through my door crack. I lunged to the window. Another silencer has old Walt cornered against the flower bed below. A cold mental broadcast begins to fill the air, and in this moment, my blood runs hotter than it ever has. In that instant, I make my decision. Nora, hold the fort. No matter what you hear, don't open that door. I grab the bottle of high-concentration alcohol and the windproof lighter I'd set aside on the table, yank the door open, and sprint to the stairwell. I shout down at the silencer just as it reaches its tendrils toward old Walt. Hey, you, the faceless thing down there. Are you asking whether you'd rather give up that dried-up old man in exchange for a young and full-of-life person from upstairs walking straight to you? The air downstairs freezes. The silencer locks up mid-strike. That faceless void slowly tilts upward, fixing on me through the dark stairwell. The logic flip works again. Compared to a dying old man, a freshly reborn soul like mine is an all-you-can-eat feast. A greedy, frozen mental broadcast surges into my mind. Yes, it releases old Walt, and comes at me on all fours at terrifying speed. Run! Don't worry about me. Old Walt's broken cry rises from below. The corner of my mouth curls into something wild. In a world ruled by these rules, running is the most useless thing you can do. The only way out is to attack. I plant myself at the landing between the second and third floors. Narrow, tight, a perfect kill zone. The instant its shape rounds the corner into my line of sight, I don't hesitate. I hurl the open bottle of alcohol straight into the center of that void. Then I click the windproof lighter. Are you asking whether you'd like to accept this passionate baptism of fire to warm that cold body of yours? The silencer is still processing passionate and warm. Its instincts won't let it refuse something that sounds so positive. Blue flame erupts through the narrow stairwell in an instant. The alcohol coats its skin and clings like burning rot. The silencer lets out an ear-splitting shriek. It isn't the fire that destroys it. It's the logic conflict. It cannot reconcile this violent physical agony with the concept of warmth, and its rule core goes into meltdown. It slams into the walls, black tendrils thrashing wildly, smashing the stair railing to pieces. I speak again. Are you in pain? Then would you like to stop breathing right now and let that pain disappear completely? It's a perfect death trap. To end the pain, it must agree to stop breathing. The silencer convulses violently in the flames. The word yes hasn't even fully formed in its mind, before its body deflates like a punctured ball, collapses into a pool of black liquid, and sizzles away in the fire. I lean against the wall, gulping air, heart slamming against my ribs, one again. Old Walt staggers up the stairs, still shaking, tears streaming down his face, already starting to kneel. I catch him before he goes down, but my eyes are already moving past him, to the doors cracking open up and down the stairwell. The commotion woke the whole building. They saw me kill the silencer. They saw me save the old man. And in those eyes now, there isn't just fear, there's hunger, because they know I have power, and I have supplies. Old Walt, I raise my voice, cold and cutting as a winter wind. Before, you once slipped me half a bun. Today I give you back your life. That debt is settled. I let go of him and draw the boning knife from behind my back. The blade catches the firelight. I walk slowly to the center of the hallway, eyes sweeping across every face peering out. Neighbors, seen enough? Dead silence. Nobody dares make a sound. I know what you're thinking. You want what I have. You want me to protect you. I let out a cold laugh. Fine. The moment that word lands, several doors swing wider. But the tone shifts sharp and deadly. You all saw what happened to Marcus. You saw what happened to those two silencers. Anyone who wants to live, 10 minutes. Bring every supply you have. Meet at my door. Of course, I turn the knife slowly in my hand. You can choose not to come. In that case, I'll be the one knocking on your door with a question. In that moment, I am no longer the person Marcus used to push around. I am this building's judge. 10 minutes later, the third floor hallway is packed. Nobody dares gamble on what that question might be. Even the most aggressive guy on the 5th floor, the one covered in tattoos, stands quietly in the crowd, clutching a box of instant noodles, neck tucked in. Fear is the finest tool of control, and order is almost always built on absolute force. Nora opens the door and sees the scene. Her hand flies to her mouth. Nora, get a notebook. I don't turn around, I just give the order. Starting today, you run all supplies. Everything goes into the central store. Distribution is based on contribution. Old Walt, people like you, your job is to watch them. Anyone hiding supplies, anyone pulling moves behind my back, you tell me immediately. Old Walt straightens up like he's found something he lost decades ago. Right, Adrian, you have my word. Let's see anyone try. Someone in the crowd moves their lips. Looks like they're about to object. One look from me, they drop their head immediately. I don't carry dead weight. I don't tolerate threats from within. I look out at this rabble and lay down the first iron rule of my new order. In this compound, my questions are law. You only need to answer one word. Yes. Now tell me, are you willing in order to survive to place your loyalty and your lives under my command? Dozens of voices fill the narrow hallway, ragged, uneven, but rising together from the depths of despair. Yes. From that moment on, the identity of ordinary survivor disappears. What takes its place is something new. The absolute ruler of this building. Over the following week, I lead them in reinforcing the stairwells, sealing every window on the lower floors, and turning this aging residential building into a steel fortress. I teach them how to use logic to dodge the silencer's death questions. I teach them how to use leading questions to acquire resources. The group grows. The people begin to hold together. Once the compound finds its rhythm, I become the undisputed ruler in all but name. Nora is my chief administrator, managing inventory and distribution. Old Walt is my eyes and ears, wandering the halls daily, picking up every complaint and every suspicious move. But the more people you gather, the more complicated it gets. There's always someone who thinks they've cracked the rules and wants to prove it at my expense. Today's challenger steps forward, a soft-spoken man in glasses. His name is Leon. When he joined the compound, he was eager to please, knew a bit about radio equipment, got our transmitter working again. That counted for something. Now he's standing at the supply station smiling at Nora. I'd like to trade some information I have for a few things from the compound. Would that be possible? Nora follows the protocol I set, responding in the standard form. So what you mean is, you're willing to trade your information for supplies of equal value from our stores. Is that correct? That's my first firewall. Always anchor the exchange to equal value. Leon pushes his glasses up. A glint of light crosses the lens. My question is, would you, as the leader of this compound, be willing to use half of our canned goods in exchange for my promise to provide one critical, life-saving piece of intelligence in the future? The room goes instantly silent. Every eye shifts from the cans to my face. Half our canned goods. That's nearly half of the compound's entire hard currency, traded for a vague, unverifiable promise. What a con job. Something for nothing. And he's not asking Nora, he's asking me. He's using the no ban with surgical precision. If I say no, nobody knows what the doomsday rule does to me, and nobody dares find out. But if I say yes, my authority collapses in an instant. If he can trade a promise for half our cans today, tomorrow someone will try to trade a ghost story for all our water. The whole order falls apart. I uncross my arms and walk slowly out from the back of the crowd, stopping right in front of him. I smile. Leon, that is a very well-formed question. He can't keep the corner of his mouth from lifting. But I didn't quite catch all of it. Are you asking me to help translate your question into something more precise, so everyone here understands exactly what you mean? I hold his gaze. Before he can answer, I fire. What you're really asking is, are you willing to personally hand over half of every person's survival rations for free to you, Leon, to gamble on a verbal promise that may turn out to be worth absolutely nothing? Is that what you're asking? My voice climbs sharply. Every word hits the room like a bullet. The smugness drains from Leon's face in an instant. He didn't expect this. I didn't play along. I tore open his filthy little scheme and held it up for everyone to see. The crowd stirs. The looks directed at Leon shift from curious to cold. Sweat appears on his forehead. His lips move, but nothing comes out because he can't say no. The moment he does, it's an admission that his question meant exactly what I said it did. I step forward until I'm almost in his face, dropping my voice low, just loud enough for the two of us. Don't play games with me. Then I step back sharply, turning back to the crowd. Or maybe, Leon, you actually want to ask everyone here a different question? My eyes move across every face. Aren't you really asking everyone present? Are you willing to trust someone who, in the middle of the apocalypse, isn't thinking about contributing anything, but instead is trying to drain the compound dry through loopholes and treat everyone here like fools? The crowd erupts. No way, that's what he meant? Damn it, I knew something was off. One promise for half our cans. He wants us all to work for free. Leon's face goes iron gray. He can't deny a single thing I've said because the doomsday rule chain is locked tight around his throat. Every second of his silence is a confession. I raise my hand for quiet. Leon, I'm giving you one final chance to ask a question. I fix my eyes on his, watching them try to look away, and speak slowly, clearly. Isn't what you really want to ask everyone in the end? Everyone. I, Leon, lost my mind for a moment and tried to use a logic trap to damage the collective and serve my own interests. I deserve to be punished. Are you willing to let me walk out of this compound for good? The hallway goes dead silent. Leon is shaking. Everyone is watching him, waiting for him to ask it, or more precisely, waiting for me to ask it for him. He won't say it, so I will. I turn to the crowd and raise my voice. Are you all willing to remove someone who tried to divide us and make sure he never gets a second or third chance to drag us into the abyss? Yes, get him out. This time the answer is one voice, deafening. Under the no ban, this becomes the compound's first unanimous vote. Leon sinks to the floor, face the color of ash. I look down at him. Nothing stirs in my chest. You heard them? I turn away and don't look back. Nora, give him a bottle of water and a pack of crackers, then see him out. Absolute authority is established in this moment, officially, completely. Then the radio in the corner, the one Leon fixed, suddenly crackles with a sharp burst of static, and a man's voice comes through, deep with a cavernous echo. Survivors of the city, hello. Are you willing to abandon your pointless resistance and join our alliance for human survival? The voice sounds like it's rising from a deep pit, threading through the low-quality signal straight into every ear in the room. Hand over all your supplies, abandon your laughable private territories, submit to efficient unified management. Are you willing? The man on the broadcast doesn't shout, doesn't threaten. His tone is as calm as a weather report, and that calm is exactly what sends a chill rising from the soles of your feet straight to the top of your skull. This is a move played in the open, a massive trap laid out in broad daylight, one you seemingly can't refuse. Fear floods the hallway like an invisible tide. Old Walt's lips are trembling. He looks at me, eyes full of panic. Nora pulls little Pete behind her without thinking, her face drained of all color. Every set of eyes in the room locks onto me like a spotlight. In their eyes, I am the one who can fight the rules, a god. But I know the truth. I'm not a god. I'm just an ordinary person who has died once more than everyone else. The man on this broadcast is nothing like Marcus or Leon, petty opportunists who only knew how to take. He doesn't just understand the doomsday rule. He's found a way to amplify it to its maximum power, mass broadcast. He doesn't need to knock on a single door. He sits in one place and addresses the entire city, forcing his will on every person within range of his signal. The weight of it presses down on my chest like a physical stone. I look across the room, at all those frightened faces, at little Pete's wide, uncomprehending eyes in Nora's arms. No, I clawed my way back from hell, not to die again in a different place, in a different way. I take a slow, deep breath and force down every rising wave of frustration and pressure. I look at them all and speak slowly. I was always a mountain, never a stream. Blank stares. Nobody understands. I smile. A smile with no warmth in it, only cold edges. A stream gets swallowed by a larger river, but a mountain just stands there. I walk to the crackling radio and reach out. In full view of every stunned face in the room, I slowly bend the antenna until it snaps. A clean, sharp crack, and the broadcast cuts to silence. The whole world goes quiet in an instant. I turn back to the stunned crowd. He asked us whether we're willing, but he forgot. We have the right to ask questions too. Staying here means handing that right over to someone else. We'd be lambs on a chopping block. Is that what you want? Nobody speaks, but their clenched fists and reddened eyes have already given me the answer. I walk to the wall where we hung a city map we found on a supply run. My fingertip lands on the center of the map, the marked location of the broadcast tower. Instead of waiting for him to find us, we find him first. I turn to Nora and give the order. She straightens up immediately. Take inventory of all our weapons and usable vehicles. Pick the 3 strongest and sharpest people. Form a strike team. Yes. Old Walt, you and everyone else, start the final reinforcement of this building. Now, from this moment on, this place is our fortress and our fallback. I pause. My eyes move across every person in the room. Remember, we are not going to surrender. We are not going to negotiate. My voice drops, carrying the weight of something final. I'm going to tell him this city has 2 rulers, or rather, very soon there will only be one. We're driving a modified SUV, armored steel bolted to the front, moving through the dead city like a silent predator. Nobody speaks inside, only the deep rumble of the engine and the crunch of gravel under the tires. The 3 people Nora selected, Rex, ex-military driving and on watch, and twin brothers Bruno and Primo, former gym trainers, built like walls, each gripping a fire axe. We reach our destination quickly. Their compound is more heavily fortified than I'd expected. Rex pulls the vehicle to a stop 50 meters from the first checkpoint. What do we do? They're armed. His voice is tight. I push open the door and step out alone. Behind the checkpoint, at least 5 or 6 gun barrels are pointed straight at me. The man in front shouts across the distance, "Are you willing to turn around and leave right now?" A smart opening move. I can't say yes, and I can't say no, because if I say no, by the literal terms of the Doomsday Rule, I'm declaring I refuse to leave, which means I'm surrendering myself. But I smile. I plant my feet and call back clearly, "I'm here for your leader. Tell me, are you asking whether I'm willing to lower all my defenses, walk into your base alone and submit to your questioning?" I've taken a potential act of hostility and reframed it as a question they're asking me. The guard visibly freezes. He didn't expect that counter. The air seems to solidify for a few seconds. Then a voice crackles from the radio at his side. Amused, unhurried. Interesting. Let him in. The chain link gate slowly slides open. I glance back at Rex and the others. A steady look that says, "Stay calm, then walk in alone." I'm led inside the broadcast tower, converted into a vast living complex, busy with people moving in all directions, yet eerily silent, every face blank, the kind of order that sends cold straight to your core. At the top floor in the main broadcast hall, I finally meet their leader. He looks to be in his mid-40s, gold-rimmed glasses, a clean white shirt. He looks less like an apocalypse warlord and more like a university professor. He's seated behind a wide broadcast desk, calmly polishing his glasses. "Welcome," he says, lifting his head. Behind the lenses, his eyes are sharp as a hawk's. "The guest who fights with logic. And you must be the one who likes to ask questions." I pull out the chair across from him and sit down without being invited. He smiles, apparently unbothered. "In the apocalypse, intelligence is power, wouldn't you say?" He puts his glasses back on and leans forward slightly, fingers interlaced on the desk. "Your arrival genuinely surprised me. I had assumed I was the only truly clear-headed person left in this city. If you already knew I existed, why use that broadcast to probe me? Doesn't that seem rather pointless?" I don't hold back. "That wasn't a probe." He shakes his head, smile deepening. "That was a declaration. I was simply announcing my presence and clearing out those too dim to even understand the rules." Every word drips with undisguised arrogance and a complete indifference to human life. My mind shifts into high gear. This man is 10,000 times more dangerous than Marcus. Marcus wore his greed and cruelty on his face. This man's evil is wrapped in logic and intelligence, hidden beneath layers of composure. He doesn't enjoy taking things. He enjoys the pleasure of controlling everything through sheer intellectual dominance. He studies me, then throws out his first real question. question. Since you came to me voluntarily, I assume you're an intelligent person. So, are you willing to contribute your intelligence for the future of all survivors and join us? This question is 100 times more vicious than anything the guard downstairs said. It looks like an offer of light, but if I fail to counter it, I've implicitly accepted his authority over me. My mind tears through every word. Contribute. Join us. Every one of them hinting at a hierarchy where I am below him. He doesn't want a partner. He wants a clever subordinate. I meet his gaze and smile. Professor, that's a fascinating question, but before I answer, may I confirm whether what you're really asking is, are you asking whether I'd be willing to collaborate as an equal with your team and jointly develop a plan that protects every person's basic rights, rather than simply pledging unilateral loyalty to you personally? I've swapped contribute for collaborate as equals, and replaced join you with jointly develop. For the first time, the professor's smile freezes. He stares at me in silence for a full 10 seconds, the amusement in his eyes slowly replaced by the careful wariness of someone who has finally met their match. You're sharper than I expected. He pivots without warning. Aren't you curious how I was able to build this kind of order so easily? Without waiting for me to respond, he gives me the answer. Because the rules themselves can be upgraded. When a person uses the rules to successfully control the will of more than 100 people, they earn one rule wish. This is something I have never heard before. My first wish was this: anyone who forms a thought of resistance against me feels an immediate sharp pain, like being stabbed with needles. And just like that, order was established. A fanatical light burns in the professor's eyes. A chill shoots straight to my brain. No wonder everyone here moves like hollow shells. They don't refuse to resist. They can't even allow themselves to think about it. He leans back now, settling back into that posture of total control. Do you still think you have the standing to talk to me about equality? He believes this revelation should have broken me, but I've just found the most fatal blind spot in everything he said. I watch him sitting there in smug satisfaction over his own genius, and suddenly find it almost funny, pathetic. The professor's expression shifts completely. I stand. I don't look at him. Instead, I look out across the hall, at his people, already stirring from my single word. I raise my hand and point at the professor, slowly, deliberately, like I'm delivering a public verdict. My voice is not loud, but it lands in every chest like a thunderclap. Professor, isn't what you really want to ask your followers this? Are you willing, for the sake of one man's ambition, to attack innocent survivors and become something just as inhuman as the silencers? My question drops into the hall like a bomb into still water. The whole room hums with the impact. Every eye locks onto the professor. The blank emptiness in those faces is gone, replaced by a mixture of fear, doubt, and the faint, long-buried flicker of anger. Become a monster. Attack innocent survivors. These words strike the last remaining human instinct inside each of them. The professor's face goes from iron gray to white. He shoves himself out of his chair. His prize-sting edict, the rule he was so proud of, seems to have stopped working. Because my question doesn't require a yes or a no. I simply asked on their behalf. The question buried in the deepest part of their hearts. He lost. The moment I asked that question, it was already over. Absolute nonsense. The professor finally cracks. His voice comes out sharp and fractured. He raises a trembling finger at me. You're twisting their minds. Aren't you really asking everyone? Are you willing to believe an outsider and let them destroy the stability we work so hard to build? His final countermove, trying to use outsider instability to drive a wedge between me and everyone else. Once more, too late. I don't acknowledge his question at all. I face the room calm and deliberate, word by word. I am not here to be absorbed into someone else's empire. I am here to give every struggling stream a direction, one that leads to something vast. I pause, looking across those wavering faces. Now, I'm going to give you a question that requires no answer. Are you willing to build, alongside me, an order that exists truly for survival, not for one person's ambition? An order that stands against the silencers and lets us sleep at night without fearing that tomorrow we'll be forced to become executioners. The moment I finish, the crowd breaks into an unstoppable wave of movement and murmur. The professor's inner circle, the armed guards standing at his sides, begin to exchange glances. The grip on their weapons quietly loosens. The scales tip completely. The professor watches his own people abandon him. Every drop of color leaves his face. He sinks back into his chair like every bone in his body has dissolved. He is utterly crushed. I don't spare him another glance. I turn and walk downstairs and have someone bring Nora and old Walt up. Once they arrive, I begin organizing, taking control of the supplies and personnel. Everything moves in perfect order, as if we were always the ones who belonged here. All of it unfolds more smoothly than I had expected. I walk to the floor-to-ceiling window and look down at the plaza below. My people and the professor's former followers, cautiously reaching toward each other, beginning to merge. A new, far larger survivor compound is taking shape beneath my feet. From today, I am no longer a person fighting alone to survive. I have become a leader. Then, without warning, a cold mechanical chime detonates inside my mind, familiar and chilling. Rookie shield expired. Doomsday rule updating.